Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR Halacha. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Thursday, the 6th day of August. Here we go. A couple of more laws about building on Shabbos, or you don't intend to build, but these situations would be called building, and you're not allowed to do them. If a door comes off of its hinges on Shabbos, and all you want to do is basically slide the door back into its hinge spot so it'll sit there, and even if it slides in simply, so you feel like, I'm not doing a whole lot, I'm just popping the door back in where it was, that's considered like adding back onto the building of the house, and you're not allowed to do that on Shabbos, even if it fits in simply. It's usher, and do not do that on Shabbos. If you have a doorknob and the doorknob has some screws that have become loose and you want to just retighten those screws, on Shabbos, that's also not allowed to be done according to most of the poskim, so do not tighten the screws in a doorknob on Shabbos. If the doorknob is off, and the only way to get in and out of the house is by, let's say, like putting a screwdriver into the hole where a piece of the doorknob was, and you can basically turn and open the door with that screwdriver, are you allowed to do that? Believe it or not, the answer to that is yes. You are allowed to use that screwdriver, put it in where the doorknob spot, turn it, and open the door with that. You might wonder, that can't be, because how could I even be handling a screwdriver on Shabbos? Seems like a muktzah item. So the simple answer to that, to you lamdanim out there, you know your Jewish halacha, there is one category of muktzah called kli shemalachto le'isser, and that's a vessel that's used for prohibited actions. The classic example is like a hammer. A hammer is muktzah because it's used usually for building, and so you're not allowed to move around the hammer for building. But if you found a permissible use for that hammer, so the rabbis decreed that kli shemalachto le'isser, a hammer which is usually used for building, if you had a use for it that was Shabbos permissible, like you wanted to crack open a coconut to eat on Shabbos, or a nut, and you were going to hammer on that nut, so then you're allowed to move the hammer for that use. Even if the hammer was in your way, you're allowed to move the hammer for its place. So if the hammer was sitting on your table, you're allowed to move the hammer off of the table, because kli shemalachto le'isser is allowed to be moved, something like a hammer is allowed to be moved for its own use or for its place, where it's like in the way or something. And a screwdriver in this situation would fall into that category, so you can slip it in the doorknob and turn the doorknob with that screwdriver. If a mezuzah falls off of its spot on the wall, believe it or not, a lot of the poskim say that especially with nails, but even if it just fits back into a slot hole in the doorway, most of them seem to say that that would be considered something like building, and replacing the mezuzah to its spot in the doorway on Shabbos is something that will have to wait until after Shabbos and should not be done on Shabbos. Thanks for logging on. Log on again tomorrow for more. Bye-bye.